First of all, they have to understand there's a difference between the organization itself and the movement. The movement kind of took over the organization. It swallowed up the organization. I mean, it's in London. It's in Nigeria. It went all over the world. South Africa, they were running around saying Black Lives Matter. That's not one organization controlling that. The slogan overrode the organization.
There you go.
So it transcends the organization. But some people have dug back into the organization and realized that the organization is extremely liberal. It is very secular. Rights for transgenders, LGBTQ, so forth and so on, some things that Christians would not agree with, mixed in with Black Lives Matter and the issues that hopefully most Christians would really care about, the abuse, the criminal justice system, the killing, and all, so forth and so on. So what happens in this country is once we find a reason to disassociate ourselves, we use that. So it could be, what is being said is, so we're not going to have anything to do with Black Lives Matter because they're liberal and they're against what the Bible stands for, and we're not going to do it. What ought to be said is, if you feel that way, let's start a right-wing counterpart that cares about the same issues, that embraces Christian values, so that people have an option.
So I think I'm nominating you to start that movement right here, right now. You could say Black love matters, and that ultimately, because Christians are having a little bit of a pushback, even African-American Christians, Christians in general, about just endorsing a secular organization that has some things that are very counterintuitive, but they have some good things in there, so you kind of want to embrace this part of it and that part of it, but you have to wholesale reject that part of it. It's like a platform that you can't agree with totally.
Right.
So a Christian version of Black Lives Matter would be better not having one, wouldn't it?
It would be better than the church turning its head yet again and finding an excuse to ignore an issue that's right in our back door.
I nominate you the leader of that.
You know what's more powerful? You know what would be the most powerful? Is if whites would lead it. I told you in the back, the most powerful thing that I saw in all of my life, and it's really hard to talk about it without being emotional, was to see the masses of white people marching in the streets saying Black Lives Matter. I literally cried. The only way I can explain to you what that feels like is, up until recently, anytime you went into main settings and you started talking about racism or criminal justice or police brutality, you were called race baiters. We solve everything by calling you names. So we put a name on you, and that way we label you and you're gone. You're a race baiter. And so after years and years and years of broaching subjects that made you alienated from the people that you love in terms of loving all of humanity and hating being misunderstood, to see all of those white and brown and Jewish and all types of LGBTQ, everybody marching, saying Black Lives Matter, was like being a child who's been molested by your father all your life and your mother never believed you and said you were a liar. And then one day she did, and she fought back for you. That's what that looked like to us. That's what that meant to us. That's what that says to us, because this is not a black problem. This is an American problem. We didn't write the creeds that liberty and justice for all, that all men should be created equal. We didn't write that, but we should be recipients of that. And anything that goes beneath that, if you don't live up to your creed, then who are you? And so it has to be dealt with as an American problem. And I think that the conversation, as uncomfortable as it is a conversation that I'm happy that we're having. I think the silence was more sick than the struggle to have a conversation. And I want to say to all the white pastors who have gotten on the news and said something that brought them a lot of criticism to one side or the other, and they've retreated back into their silos to be safe. Don't do that. Keep talking. If we don't keep talking, reasoned men don't keep talking, then unreasonable people will take over the conversation. If we don't cry out, the rocks will cry out. So then it's left to people in the street and people with guns on both sides of the issue, and people are going to be killing and shooting because we don't want to be uncomfortable. Be uncomfortable. I mean, yes, you're going to be trolled and people are going to say bad things, but trolled is better than shot.
Yeah.
Keep talking. We can make the world better if we start talking to each other rather than allowing the news to tell us who each other is.
You know, Bishop, I think that's been so hard for people, though, because it has, we were talking, it has been so volatile, and it's like you can't say anything right as much as you try, and it's just taken out of context. And that has been probably the worst thing about just speaking out, is that, you know, and Christians, people that call themselves Christians, being volatile and it's just been shocking to me. And the Black Lives Matter words, those 3 words, are separate from anything else. It's Black Lives Matter. Also, too, we're all in this together. It's not just because you say Black Lives Matter doesn't mean all lives don't matter.
Oh, we're going to fall out and be slain. I've been trying to say that. I'm so happy to hear you say that. Black
Lives Matter, too. That's the thing we're dealing with, and we've got to move on that. And it's not because they say that their lives matter that nobody else's lives matter. We all matter, and we all know that. We should all know. I'm telling you, we all matter. But Black lives right now matter, and they matter to God, and they matter to us. And so the things that have to change, and who said the other night, I think it was Rick Rigsby, said that the oppressor.
Well, that the oppressor has to be the one to fix the problem, not the oppressed. It's not going to be fixed by someone that is oppressed. The oppressor must fix it. You know,
can I jump in for just a second? There's a couple of things that I want to point out just to underscore what Laurie said. I think it's October. I might be wrong about the month. It's Breast Cancer Month, and everybody wears pink, and everybody, the football players wear pink, and everybody focuses on breast cancer because it is a pervasive problem that's killing millions of women, black and white, and we're trying to eradicate breast cancer. But nobody says when you're wearing a pink shirt and saying, I fight breast cancer, nobody says, what about Alzheimer's? You know, Alzheimer's matters too. We have this way.
Wow. That was really a good point.
You understand what I'm saying?
That is really good.
We have a way of not understanding things we really understand in a way that is playing with our own minds, when in reality, all over the world, we have been able to focus on COVID-19 right now, okay? That doesn't mean Ebola doesn't matter, okay? But you focus on the thing that is the most threatening in that moment, and the focus is there, and it is not to the chagrin or the detriment of other people, but it is, in fact, an inclusion that says, I care about you. What could be more Christian than that? You matter.
Okay, you have made an analogy that works, okay? When you see people displaying that pink color, or an athlete has on pink shoes that football game or whatever, it's not, you're not saying heart disease doesn't matter. You know, you're just saying we need to focus on this because it's a thing. And guess, you know, I guess it also is, you know, similar to, you all live in a big cul-de-sac of houses. Everybody's house matters, but the one on fire really matters right now. So let's focus on the one on fire right now, not that the other houses don't matter. You said in the back that somebody that can't differentiate between the good part of the movement of Black Lives Matter isn't educated enough to know what they're talking about. And what I feel like we've done in this conversation, let it be part one of many, but is you have explained to me, and I believe our audience, that if you look at everything the platform of Black Lives Matter is, you and I can't agree with every single jot and tittle of what they're doing. And so that is helpful. That is helpful because there could have been some people in the white viewing community on this going, well, don't you understand we can't support Black Lives Matter because of all the other stuff? Well, you've just now explained that you've given permission that maybe there should be a movement that could be a conservative version of Black Lives Matter, which I earlier nominated you to begin. But
maybe he's nominating you.
You know something else that's funny about that? I have never seen a president that I fully agreed with, but I still voted.
Right.
And it's funny how we can find grace when it's our agenda to look over parts that we don't like and vote for what we do like. We understand it when it's our agenda.
yeah,
I've never seen a president in my lifetime that I totally agree with about everything.
yeah.
Right.
Or a political party that suits me. I could just start my own. I could just start my own right now because I want to cherry pick this from this part and this from that part. And the way we pick depends on how we're taught.
Right.
But you're saying don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
That's exactly
Okay,
right.
we're
That's what
nominating you for president.
Throw the term out. You can disagree with parts of it, but don't take away the justice side of what this is, because as believers, we have to love justice.
That's right. We have to love justice because our God represents justice, and we have a biblical mandate. The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me to bind up the wounds of the brokenhearted. We cannot continue to be the priest and the Levite that goes over and takes a peek and then goes back into the comfort of our suburban communities and enjoy our lives. We have to prove that we are the legs and feet of Christ, the hands and feet of Christ, and go where the wounded are and raise them up academically, socially, intellectually, and spiritually. We have to do that.